All right. Good afternoon, Superkickin with Steven fans. So happy to be here, ready to talk up Raw, Smackdown, AEW, NXT. We just had the Great American Bash. Greg, of course, will want to talk of his Suns playing Game 3 tomorrow. They're looking unbeatable. I mean, they've put up 118 points both games. So, and also, you know, I was last week live at Wrestling PM, PG Wrestling. I'll be back there Friday, July 30th. Trying to get in the action. So, Greg, first, have at it. Happy Saturday. How you feeling with your Suns right now?
Oh, man, on top of the world, man. Not as good as going to feel this time next week when they are. But 2 games down, 2 to go. They're looking unstoppable. And I give a shout out to Giannis for, you know, toughing it out, you know, putting his big boy pants on and trying to, you know, lead his team. It was a one-legged man in ass kicking contest. Unfortunately, his is the one that's getting kicked right now. But everybody who's, you know, hating on him, hating on the Suns run because, you know, all these injured players. Well, you know, you can't say this about the championship series because Giannis is in there. He's playing his guts out. But, you know, those stars, using air quotes around them, are not playing like stars. And they really have nothing for the Suns right now. So tomorrow night, Game 3, Game 4 is going to be around Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, because there's 2 back-to-back games in Milwaukee. Actually, I'm hoping they take one of those games so they can close out the series in Phoenix. But you can't be picky, you know. And this may be a historic run in the sense that if they sweep the Bucks, that they will have closed out every series on the road on their championship run. They've beaten every team in the playoffs in their own building. So
yeah,
I don't know if
it's historic.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that not being some sort of history.
I don't think this ever happened before. So
wow,
it could be very historic if they get the sweep. So something to look out for.
And like you said, they put up 118 points in both games. That's pretty. That's pretty good stats. So, other than that, I think my experience was very interesting. I thought it took me a little bit to get going. I had another guy with me trying to help along as well, and just Dan saying, I wish my man Sir Charles would have been able to do it in '93. Well, yeah. And
me too.
I'm sure the 2005 Suns wished, or is that 05, 06, a couple of those years where they were really like with Steve Nash and all that. So, but I'm sure they'll do it. And so MPG Wrestling, good times, a lot of different characters there, and middle of a barn house. So hopefully Friday, July 30th. Will be the next event. It's Jared Kripke's birthday bash, golden birthday bash. So he turns 30 on the 30th. So that's kind of cool for him. We'll see how that all turns out. But
brother, everybody got to start somewhere. Even JR started out in the indies before he became, you know, the GOAT of all broadcasters. So
I just need some guy to fall from the cell, and then I'm golden. So there's a few big stories that came out this week. We'll start with Raw, and then we'll kind of build in those stories as it goes, because it kind of makes more sense when you play it into the stories. But we'll go through the week. So we'll do Monday Night Raw. Tuesday we'll do the Bash. We'll talk about Wednesday AEW and the debut that happened there, and then finish up with SmackDown and any other thoughts. So Raw, kind of looking at it, we had the Miz TV segment with all the Money in the Bank people I love that Riddle climbed up the ladder. I'm sure you remember, Greg, when it was Owens, Jericho, Ziggler, maybe, or there was like 6 of them, Sami Zayn, maybe. They're all sitting on top of the ladders. I'm sure it's the most awkward they've ever been, but played up that history. It's like, isn't this how we're supposed to do it? He's selling the hell out of that foot, which is good. It led to John Morrison, Ricochet. Now, this time, John Morrison defeats Ricochet by count out. What is the end game for this, Greg? Because I have no clue.
It's making no sense. I thought that the beginning of it was to boost up Ricochet, give him a little bit of push because, when he gets back in front of an audience that people are going to be behind him, he is that good. And, he could be the millennial version of Jeff Hardy. He's more acrobatic. He's uber talented, and he's just not getting his moment. And if I could pick who would win the briefcase, I would pick Ricochet. And I know he's not going to get it. He's going to be good for 2-3 high spots that are going to be amazing. But this whole thing with Morrison, I have no idea what they're going with this. He needs to, win this trilogy and, get himself set up for something else. By the way, that gainer he did off the apron and smashed John Morrison, who was sitting on the barricade, that was awesome. And I thought he could have, I thought he could have, I thought he could have killed both of them. That was out of nowhere, and it's not often that we see something like that it just hits you by surprise that much. And so I know my jaw hit the floor. I don't know about yours, but that was definitely an awesome moment. That would have got a huge pop out of the audience that had happened in front of the crowd. So
it would have landed in the audience.
Yeah,
so that's why they had to take advantage of it. I mean, they're trying to pull out all the stops before they, like the last man standing match. I felt like that went a lot outside the barricade. So my thinking is, could Ricochet get elevated with a good showing in Money in the Bank? Like, maybe he gets a couple chances to reach it. Maybe he takes out Morrison from reaching it, and that's the way that he overcomes Morrison. But like you said, he's not high on my list. He might be above John Morrison if I'm ranking them. But maybe we could do that at the end of the night and kind of rank the 6 or the 8 men, because we're still waiting on. We have 6 out of the 8 women right now. So because I would be curious to hear your ranking of them. Well, why don't we just do it right now? We're right here talking about it. Who do you think is the odds-on favorite? Because we got Drew, Nakamura, Owens, Ricochet, Morrison. Who am I missing? Oh, AJ Styles.
AJ.
Big E. Is that it? Am I missing anybody?
I think you got it. I would put it between Drew and Seth.
Seth Rollins, that's who I forgot.
Yeah. I just finished watching SmackDown an hour ago, so it's still in my mind. Drew and Seth, with the dark horse being Big E. So in order, Drew 1, Seth 2, Big E 3.
And I was wondering if Big E could get it, go back to Raw, and cash in on Lashley, and kind of come full circle. Now then again, would that play into somehow Kofi getting upset? Maybe Kofi joins MVP, and we finally get the ultimate breakup of, I know that's way convoluted, but it feels like, I just don't know. It feels like Big E with the queso I don't know. I feel like Big E should kind of do that slow. Like I said, I think a Rumble win, I don't know. And then Cesaro, I thought would have overcame Seth last night, but that didn't happen. So it does look like Cesaro's getting back down to where he was, which kind of sucks. But hopefully it's not like you. I think it's Drew and Seth. I just don't think it feels like it. I almost think Seth now, and the stuff with Edge could play up because they were teasing that. That sounds like where we're going for SummerSlam. And maybe you have, Seth saying, well, I'm going to cash in and do something you couldn't do, Edge and stuff like that. Or maybe Seth puts up the briefcase on the line, somehow. And but yeah, it does feel like Seth is getting built up again, and we haven't really touched the Roman stuff yet. So, who knows? Because that's the thing too. Do you want to go heel versus heel? Even though I feel like people would cheer Seth over Roman right now, I think. But or maybe you could get that mix. Who knows? But I ultimately think, so yeah, like you, I'm just going to switch mine. I'm going to put Seth Drew and then maybe Big E as a dark horse. But right now it feels like those two. And the women's side, like I said, there's 2 spots up for grabs. I feel like Sasha's going to get announced in there. And then somebody had said maybe Toni Storm. But they're saying coming soon. But then again, they brought Tegan Knox and Shotzi up last night. So who knows? I mean, yeah. So I'll be interested to see who they put in. But it feels like Sasha should maybe be that last name just to get the big pop because they're back in. They have to pretty much announce it next week, because it's next week. So, and then as far as the women's side, I really don't know because I think I want Alexa just because I think that would be interesting. But we got Asuka, Alexa, Nikki Ash, Naomi, Liv, because Liv's not winning it. I think she's just getting these little moments to get her built up. Liv Morgan now. Who else we got? We got who's my other SmackDown? It was Carmella. She got pulled out. Is that it?
Your mystery opponent.
There's 2. And I'm looking at my women's wrestlers over there to see if there's anybody that I missed. But right now I think Alexa's the odds-on favorite in women's. Do you think Alexa or do you think somebody else?
Alexa seems too easy.
Yeah.
So I think they may be doing something a little bit different. And as much as I hate to say it, I think maybe Nikki is going to be the one who gets it just so they can lean heavier into this superhero thing.
But she'll probably lose the cash in.
Depends.
I mean, yeah. You're right.
Depends.
Yeah. They don't pull an Otis, do they, again?
Oh, geez, no.
I hope, and that's the thing. I feel like they got to stick with whoever gets it, you just ride that out. Let it ride. I mean, and could they go back to Asuka because Asuka technically didn't get to cash in last year? So maybe Asuka, yeah.
Yeah, as much as I love it, I don't think Asuka's going to get it. Nikki, because of the storyline, and when we're back in front of the audiences, they're going to be eating her up.
Yeah.
She's going to go over like gangbusters. I have no doubt about it. And, the little kids are going to be into it. I can see them with their,
like dressing up like her.
On. Right. The same way Bailey was when she was in NXT doing, and they had the little Bailey clones out there.
Guys like dressing up like Bailey. There's some
right.
You see the dads out there with the headbands. I got some headbands over here of mine. There they are. They're way back there.
Oh, okay.
It's still in the plastic. Never been opened. Oh, there's my bootios too. Can't go wrong with some bootios.
I had some too. I don't know where they went. I think somebody stole them.
Who knows how mad they are. But so speaking of women, we did have an 8-women tag match. We had Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Eva Marie, and Doudrop defeat Nikki Ash, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Naomi. Obviously, the winner was Eva Marie. I kind of am digging that she's just going after everybody because when she gets killed, the crowd is going to eat it up, as you like to say. So that's all this is about. I am surprised that they, beat it's the 4 women in the Money in the Bank match. So I mean, it's kind of good because it didn't give any of those women momentum, but it was just a weird hodgepodge. I mean, I thought Piper still looked good. And like we said, that moment when she finally turns, and I mean, if you pull it right away, like that first row in front of the crowd, I think I'd be okay with it because I feel like you want to get the crowd on your side with her. And I think the crowd wants to get behind her and, let her say her name and all that. It takes you back to the Aleister Black and Velveteen Dream, where he wouldn't just say his name and you just have, so. But yeah, Brittany's in the chat saying, Dad, these boys are talking all your favorite sport, all this wrestling. I don't know who she's talking to, but she must be talking to her dad. So thank you, Brittany, for joining us. Oh, there you go. Now we got it. So there you go. There's her other comment. She needs to talk. Tag her dad, Bill Warner Hensley. So if Bill wants to join us, we'll be glad to get him in the comments and join up. So thank you, Brittany, for joining the chat. Keep giving us comments. If you want to add anything to it, let us know. So Dewdrop is ultimately going to be the winner out of all this, I think. And then, your whole Nikki Ash, I think that's probably a pretty good theory as well. So Mustafa Ali defeated Mansoor. Man, you talk about going Mansoor was undefeated, and now he's defeated. And I think ultimately you just got to I think he's going to acquiesce to Ali and maybe let them kind of run wild as a tag team because we need tag teams, especially with Morrison and Miz. Miz is hurt, so that takes the tag team away. So do you think Mansoor just ultimately kind of aligns himself with Ali by not reluctantly, kind of?
Yeah, that's kind of what I see it going. Ali taking that more mentor role and kind of corrupting the very Snow White Mansoor as far as being so sweet and innocent and everything. So yeah, I can see them run with that for a while and just playing it until it's time to turn him maybe around the end of the year.
And who knows, maybe let them get a run with a small run with the tag team titles. But Ali finally have something for all the work he's, pumping up main event and trying to build feuds through that. So next up, we had the feud of the century, but we threw it away on Monday Night Raw because Jinder Mahal, Greg, he was sad because Drew McIntyre did not text him back after 3 days. You know what I call that? I call that ghosting. And Jinder Mahal should take a hint. Because I know as a single guy, when a person doesn't text you back in 3 days, that's probably saying something. But anyways, I saw a lot of people saying, oh, man, they wasted this on Raw. They should – I'm like, come on, people. We did not need this on a pay-per-view.
No.
Maybe a beat, not like any of the big ones. If you want to throw it on Extreme Rules, sure. But, Jinder Mahal technically – well, no, Drew McIntyre won by DQ because Riv and Shank, I don't know, I'm going to say Shaki or whatever his name is, Riv and Shanky. I can't remember those two guys, the two big guys with him. They, Veer and Shanky. They kind of took out Drew. I mean, I guess this is something for Drew to hold over. Because like we were saying, what is he going to do for SummerSlam? And do we even – I mean, this might be it for him for SummerSlam. I was kind of wondering if there might be a tag team come out there to help him. But I can't even think of what tag team to put out there with him. I mean, you could have done the Viking Raiders, but they're kind of messing with AJ and Almost. So, maybe, New Day might need something after – after this whole stuff with Lashley. But any thoughts on Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre, Greg?
Yeah, it was time for a step down for Drew anyway, and this is it for sure. And it's just going to be, him getting out of the picture for a minute, and yeah, it's just a waste of space. I wouldn't watch this on the pre-show, so it's good to just get it out the way and give Drew something to do in the short term, and he can start rebuilding, starting with Jinder, and make his way back to the top. But I can't think of anybody who wants to see another Jinder Mahal match. But that's what he has to do, and you gotta pay your dues somehow. And this is what the end of the line looks like. If you ever wondered when they said, okay, you lost all your championship opportunities, back of the line, back of the line is Jinder Mahal.
This is literally trying to rebuild him.
Yep.
Well, speaking of back of the line, Lucha House Party defeated Mason T-Bar. So, yeah, I think the writing is on the wall for Mason T-Bar. I think they're going to get jobbed out a lot. I think they're going to be the ascension and just kind of there until it's, time to cut bait, or I don't know. Losing a Lucha House Party, I mean, that's pretty.
Yeah.
That's not
says
good.
You're on the bottom, lose your house party.
Yeah. So
they do have a saving grace, though. I mean, if they just broke away from the whole
their personas,
right, and just go back to their origin story, Dominic Dijakovic, Dio Madden, and break out their real stories and represent themselves that way, they could do something. They could make something of themselves and split off from each other, so they're not associated as a lame tag team, and go back to.
Hey, I didn't want to. I wanted to do something against Brock, so I went back to the drawing board. Stuff. I don't know,
right.
But
so it's not too late for those guys. They can still do something like that and reinvent themselves on the fly. But as long as they keep working this angle from the Retribution era, it's not going to work for them. And you see where that's landed them. So it's up to them to make it right.
I mean, if you're losing the Lucha House Party, that ain't good. Riddle defeated AJ Styles. Really strong match there. Just Riddle, I mean, he just really looks good. We did have the Viking Raiders in there, kind of distracting the Raw Tag Team Champions. We're going to get the Viking Raiders and AJ and Omos on the first Raw after Money in the Bank. So we'll get that in front of a live crowd. And it'll be really interesting to see how finally the crowd reacts to AJ and Omos as a tag team. We saw it kind of at WrestleMania, but now, on the road, and I'm sure there'll be some screwy finish, unless they just pull the trigger on Viking Raiders and maybe try to get the Viking Raiders back on the right path, and maybe you can play that up. So anything, Greg, on Riddle and AJ Styles, and then, maybe what you think about that Raw after Money in the Bank for the Tag Team Championship?
No, I love what they're doing with Riddle. Riddle's looking really good. He's keeping his, goofy character, but it's
when it comes
added
time,
an edge to it. Right.
Yeah.
He's looking more legit, and that's what I wanted out of him for the longest time, instead of him just being a clown all the way around. And putting him with Randy Orton has been the right move, giving him that edge he needs, giving him that my dad used to have a great saying. I laugh and joke, but I don't play. And that's kind of what Riddle is. He'll laugh and joke outside the ring, but when he gets in the ring, he don't play. And it's time to go to work, and you're seeing that come out in his ring work. So I'm excited for that. The Viking Raiders do need to get built up, and doing it against AJ and Omos would be a great move. because they do need that depth. They do need don't know where Amos is with his work in the ring. He's Hulk smashed a little bit, but we haven't seen much out of him, and so it kind of defines down the titles. So putting them on a tag team like Viking Raiders would make more sense, in my opinion.
And with the Riddle stuff, we haven't even brought up Damian Priest. I wonder if we're leading to you're trying to, what are you trying to do here? And Orton gets, a little touchy about it. So would you be okay with the Orton Damian Priest feud, or maybe a match even at SummerSlam? I think that'd be a really high profile match for Damian Priest to kind of build him up as well.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree that something we haven't seen before. I think they would complement each other, and I think the bigger guy by maybe an inch or two. So it looks good, and be believable. So they have a couple high impact matches, and it wouldn't hurt Randy at all, and it would help establish Damian Priest as a top guy, putting him in the program with Orton. So I'd be for it. I'm still lukewarm on Damian Priest just because I haven't seen him do anything amazing yet. But leaving the door open for him. I want to like him, but he hasn't shown me much yet. So this program like this could do it.
Because the past couple weeks, Damian Priest and Riddle have had segments, so it makes you wonder if that's going anywhere. Because I feel like they wouldn't just throw that for no reason. So, yeah. Next up, here's another match. Jackson Riker and R-Truth defeated Cedric Alexander and Elias. Elias has walked away. You had Tozawa in there messing around. You had Cedric had to defend for himself. And Riker and R-Truth pick up the win because, Riker and R-Truth is a thing. So, moving on. We're just going to go to the main event, which was Kofi Kingston and then Xavier Woods defeating Bobby Lashley and MVP. Obviously, you had to have Kofi overcome it. He beats MVP and, kind of looks good. I thought MVP looked pretty good in the ring. We'd wondered if he was coming back soon, and obviously now it's known. So good main event to kind of build that up. Monday, we're going to get Lashley and Xavier Woods one-on-one again. So it'll be interesting to see, do they let Xavier Woods get as much offense in, or do they just let Lashley roll through to kind of build that up again? So what do you think about the main event? And then we'll take a quick commercial break and go into Tuesday and get things going on Great American Bash.
Yeah, I thought it was a good match. And, the outcome was what we expected to be. The New Day against, a team with MVP on it, they should win. But it was, a great match. They told a good story, and, it advanced the storyline with Lashley and Kofi. So, it achieved all its objectives.
All right. Let's do Elite Performance. If you want to get Elite, you need to go to Elite Performance. So here's a little commercial break for them. Then we'll get right back into the Great American Bash. All right, and we are back, ready to rock and roll on Great American Bash. We did kind of start with Karrion Kross, Johnny Gargano, for the title of NXT with Samoa Joe as a special guest referee. I think that's, with the rumblings that Karrion Kross has been working dark matches on Raw and SmackDown or wherever. I think it's Raw, but I think they're going to pull the trigger on Karrion Kross getting up sooner rather than later. So, Greg, could we see a title change next week? With Samoa Joe and
very, very, very interesting. I like the idea, and the way Johnny Gargano is going over as a babyface would make a whole lot of sense right now. To know that the way is supposed to be still easy for me to say, still a heel faction. However, Gargano is, is showing more and more shades of, his babyface persona, and going against the biggest heel in the company is going to make you a de facto babyface. So I can see it happening. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I lean more towards those face-offs he's been having with Joe and just waiting for him to throw on him so we actually get that match and Joe gets the belt. So do I see Gargano get it? Yes. Do I think he will? No. I think it's going to be a great match. Maybe some screwy finish involved that prevents Gargano from winning. Maybe one of the other guys like Cole or somebody sticking their nose in because they don't want him to. They want to be the guy to be Cross and not Gargano. So something like that happening, but I think it's going to be a fantastic match with Gargano and Cross. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you feel like Samoa Joe's going to get involved somehow. And like you said, if we can get Samoa Joe, and I think Samoa Joe and Karrion Kross probably without the title is probably where you want to go because, then Samoa Joe can go over and then Karrion Kross can move up. So maybe that's the end game as well. So because they keep saying that Karrion Kross has been working some dark matches. So I would think that means you're going to call him up pretty soon. MSK defeated Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa. We kind of both were I thought we both were leaning towards Thatcher and Ciampa winning. Obviously, we were wrong, unless maybe I'm misspeaking for you. But I don't know. MSK still feels like they're getting some of those boos from the crowd, don't they?
Yeah, it does. First of all, it was awesome to see that pay-per-view happen with the full audience and not 200 people in there and then 500 video screens. So to see them in front of a full building was awesome, and you could tell who was hot and who was not off that show. And I agree with you. Ciampa and Thatcher were getting the lion's share of the cheers as opposed to MSK. And I know they're supposed to be the new era Rock and Roll Express kind of thing, but they just don't have that it factor. And they're pushing as hard as they can to show it, but I don't see it. You don't see it. I doubt most of the universe sees it. They're going to have the basic fans cheering for them because we're being led to believe that this is the new hot up and coming next big thing. But most they underestimate us as far as we know what we see when we see it, and MSK is still not there. So I was disappointed with that match just on the basis of the outcome. It was still a decent match, good match, but
I'm wondering if MSK could they do you think a manager would help them? I mean, I guess if it's the right manager.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't know who is the right manager. So it's like, I don't know. I almost feel like they just got to lean into the heel side.
Yeah, that would make having a manager make sense because they're hype men for each other already. They don't need a third hype man.
That's true.
So it would make more sense if they were to jump heel and they would then to get a manager to help carry off their shenanigans. And
like we said, even the casual fans, if there's just something. You said, it felt like Thatcher and Ciampa were getting all the cheers. I mean, they were over in Impact Wrestling, I think, as the Young Rascals is what they were called, and that got over. And now they think, oh well, we're going to do the same stuff. But like you said, sometimes it works with LA Knight type deal. Sometimes it doesn't work. I mean, look at EC3. I mean, he tried some of the same stuff and it didn't necessarily work. So, speaking of LA Knight, of course, he did defeat Cameron Grimes. We will. I'm really looking forward to the vignettes that we'll see with Grimes carrying out the work of LA Knight, whatever he's going to do. So it was the right choice. It made the most sense. Good match. I think we probably need to move, like, whenever if Grimes can win a match for his freedom down the road, maybe at TakeOver next month, then it needs to be done with both of them. They both need to go their separate ways. So any thoughts on the match, Greg?
Yeah, I like the match, and of course, I've been all over this storyline from the beginning because I love LA Knight and Cameron Grimes. What he's been doing with DiBiase and the whole $1 million angle has been all money, pun intended.
Pun intended.
Anytime they have these Butler matches, it always goes bad for the babyface. And we just saw the Butler angle go over in AEW with Miro and the Best Friends. And so when they brought up the Butler angle, kind of knew what was going to happen. I was still hoping it wouldn't, just in the sense that if Grimes wins, he gets the $1 million championship. He's already got the allegiance with DiBiase. He just puts all the pieces together. But even in the back of my mind, I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these bits look like, the vignettes as the Butler. And then he's going to pay off with another match. So, like you said, with TakeOver being, the best stage for it. So it's going to be another big match for those guys. And I think this is different from the MSK as far as the Impact connection, because LA Knight was such a much bigger character in Impact than they were. He was at the top for much longer time. His gimmick went over so much bigger. You saw him leaning into the whole thing that he does during their promo. I'm still dying for the LA Knight talk show to come out. When he had the little Staples Easy button that does his voice going, "Dummy, yeah," and that whole bit is going to be so much gold when he finally breaks that out. And Cameron Grimes is one calling him dummy. So what I remembered thinking back on it a little bit further was at the time that he was on top as Eli Drake back in Impact, Cameron Grimes was also there as Trevor Lee.
Yes. Okay.
The Technical Savage. So these guys have been together, they've worked together, they know each other, and that's why this angle is getting over so much bigger, because probably of their familiarity and their ability to tell a great story in their promotion, in their promos, and in their matches. So it took a little bit of thinking to go back that far into the Impact time machine, but it makes sense from that angle, bringing them both forward. They're in the same place now, and we can see the difference in the ring as opposed to guys like MXK, where they came along after that time when they were both in Impact together, in the sense that nobody was watching Impact at that time. So so I'm definitely still looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with this payoff match with Grimes and LA Knight. It's going to be great.
So speaking of betting big money, I wish we would have bet on Io Shirai and Zoe Stark, because we were. I don't know what the odds were on that one. I mean, there's no way people would have predicted that they would have won the tag team titles. and they defeated Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. My only thinking is, I mean, we need the women on Raw. Do you call up Candice and Indy, which I hope you don't. I think it's too soon. But, yeah, I was just very surprised that Io Shirai and Zoe Stark are the new tag team champions. And it kind of sucks because, you know, we had the way, which have worked together, and now you're going back to just two singles people thrown together. You know, I felt like we were kind of doing that with Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart. I mean, at least Raquel and Dakota were, you know, tagging together. But it's like we're going back and forth. It's like they can't decide, you know, who they want to give it to. I did not foresee the way losing, like, you know, that way already. So, Greg, have at it. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with you. And looking at it now, after getting a whole week of wrestling in, is looks like they're blowing up the whole bottom tier of the women's division with Ember, or not Ember, Shotzi and Tegan. Moving up, and they just did Tegan's re-entry into the field.
That was what surprised
during
me
that
too.
match.
I don't get why she came out and messed that match up, but then she's getting called up on SmackDown.
Right. So, you know, now you've taken that away from Indy and Candice, and then moved the reason for that happening to Raw, and now you have Zoe and Io as champs. Nobody in the way has the title now, and you know, all the girls from, you know, that second rung down on the NXT women's tier seem to be moving up to Raw. So they seem to be reshuffling the deck right now with the girls and moving them up and opening the door for some of the new ladies like Zoe Stark. So it's all a big cluster right now. The match with Io was still a good match. But yeah, I didn't have them winning just because of their, you know, mutual respect, you know, business that they were talking up, and the solidarity of Candice and Indy, and it looks like they are on the way up too. Is the only thing that makes sense to me, taking the belts off of them. But it's going to be at least another week or two because you have to pay off the index angle first, and then you know, maybe move all of them up there.
Yeah, and my only thing with Ember is she already was up there, so I think she's like, nope. I wonder if she, you know, signed like Joe, maybe exclusively to NXT, and just wants to stay down there, because the Tegan Nox and Shotzi tag team is just weird. So it's like, I'm just very interested to see. I mean, I know we still got Xia Li and Mi Ling, whatever, Mercedes Martinez down there. But yeah, your bottom rung, like you said, your mid card, it's kind of thin pickings. You know, I guess you get the Robert Stone brand girls and like Casey Castanzaro and Caden Carter, but other than that, yeah, I was just very surprised that they pulled the trigger on that. So the hit row thing, I didn't like it at all, and I thought the crowd didn't know what to do. It just felt flat. Did you enjoy the hit row thing or whatever the? I'm kind of dumb. I don't know what cipher means. Is that a word I should know?
No, but well, I mean, we're old heads. I didn't know what Cypher means either. So, you know, last thing I saw, Cypher was a character from Fast and Furious. So, I didn't know what Cypher meant either. So they're all coming out and they're doing, you know, their little rapping thing, and like, okay, we can see they're actual talented rappers, but what does this have to do with anything?
Anything, yeah. I mean, I felt like the crowd didn't know, and it even looked like they cut the commercial break when they were in the middle of the end or whatever. So it's like even they thought, okay, this isn't even, doing anything. So
yeah, they should have done more work on it to explain to us what was happening. We know it's a celebration. We've seen championship celebrations 1,000 times over.
Yeah.
But what's a Cypress celebration? What are we going to be getting here? And it just caught everybody off guard. And it's like, okay, we knew they were rappers from the beginning when they formed this little clique. But to hit us with that without explaining it, you can see why that segment fell flat.
Yeah, I just didn't know what in the world. And I'm even trying to look up the definition. Of course, it's like, it doesn't even have the definition for me, so that's cool. But anyways, yeah, Wade Barrett loved it, so I guess that's good. But the crowd was like, at first the crowd was like, hey, and then it was just crickets. I mean, the crowd didn't even have any. I mean, I don't know if they thought there'd be more energy to the, and that's the thing too. I don't know if they we've been wanting BFAB to kind of show off, and she did, and I mean, I guess it was good, but yeah, that segment I was like, all right. So finally we get to Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Really, really solid match. Just both going at each other, move for move. Kyle O'Reilly loses. Adam Cole wins because, like we said, I think we need a third match.
Yep. Some
sort of final stipulation. We both said Adam Cole would win, so we were both correct on that. Yeah, definitely, technical match. I don't know. It was okay. I don't know. It did. The whole night just kind of felt like we were waiting for a little bit more. Is that maybe how you felt too, or?
Yeah, I expected something else to happen after that match. And I know this is like what we've been waiting for the whole night was that match, and it was a great match. I really enjoyed that match. The finish was great, and Cole wins. Sets up the trilogy to happen like we expect it to, whenever the next takeover is. But yeah, it does seem like, as he's saying, they're celebrating something else should be happening right there. So, it's a great event overall, but it does seem like something was missing.
Then again, we were spoiled last year because we had Keith Lee winning both titles, and we had Io Shirai and Sasha Banks going at it. I mean, we had some strong stuff last year. So I think it was two nights last year too, though?
I thought it was, yeah.
Okay, so that might have been, I don't. Like you said, maybe Diamond Mine should have came out and taken out Adam Cole, so then you really build up Roderick.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because we keep one. I mean, he's took out Kushida and Kyle, but he hasn't taken out Adam yet. So, or maybe takes out Bobby Fish in the match. Just to really build up Roderick. So, like I said, it wasn't I wasn't, but like you said, I think we're so used to those angles that lead to the next event. Usually NXT is pretty good about like a cliffhanger type deal,
Right.
Ciampa taking out Gargano, and like we said, the double championship, and we got, whatever, lead it to the next night. So, well, we're going to take another commercial break and get you some realty talk, get into AEW Dynamite and the big gigantic debut that we were probably both surprised that it happened this quickly, but we got some notes on that. As I saw on the internet. Thank you, internet, for always telling me what I need to know, and we'll talk that up. So, Realty Talk with Sean Nugent, and then we'll come right back.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSPORTS1.com and Black and White Sports, and I'm wondering if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself, 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322, and make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSports1.com sent you.
All right, and here we go, right into Road Ragers. So we just started the night right off the bat with Cody Rhodes, with QT Marshall, QT Marshall in the strap match. And Greg, we got the old school hitting the corners, which I kind of hate.
Yeah.
I think you just need the pin. At least we did have the lights. Like I know WWE did. I think it was the Savio Vega and Stone or somebody's match. They did the lights and the lights would turn on. So at least you could keep track. But now the lights did go out for a minute, or not a minute, but they went out. I wondered if they wanted Alistair to debut then, because it's weird that those lights went out then. But then again, Cody winning wouldn't have made any sense. So it makes, whatever happened later on. But obviously we thought Cody would win. He did. QT, now hopefully with what happened later on, now hopefully we're done with now granted we did have Dustin Rhodes chasing off Aaron Solo and Booger, as I like to call him, but Nick Carmoto, and I hope we're done with the QT Marshall Cody Rhodes stuff. Do you think we're done with it?
Yeah, hopefully that this was just the bridge to live crowds and move Cody on to bigger and better things, and we already saw what the bigger and better thing is. So yeah, the whole thing with the factory, they can go back to AEW Dark and do their thing down there. And the match was, it was a good match. I didn't like the old school tap the four corner pad because that's what I grew up with the strap matches.
I mean, yeah, and I get it's old school. So
yeah, it's going all the way back to NWA days, and Dusty Rhodes in the strap match, and Dustin in the strap match, and Horseman in the strap match, and that's how they did it. Grab your guy, wrap the strap around his neck, and drag him to the corners, tag all the four turnbuckles. So I did like that part of it instead of the way they do it now. So, good match. Shout out to him for doing the old school. And please move away from the whole factory nightmare rivalry bit because, we don't need that now.
Yeah. And then we did have we had Kenny Omega. Don Callis come out there. Don Callis getting the lovely "You Got Fired" because he got fired on Impact Wrestling. So now I'm going to assume we're going to see him all the time on AEW, which could be good or bad. But we saw the Dark Order, because it is New World Order NWO week. So I'm getting all of them confused. But we saw Dark Order come out there, Uno stepping up, saying, hey, or Omega, who we want. And we did get Hangman out there. They did not touch each other, but we got to go all out. We got to do it. So, I know we've kind of talked it up. Do you want to add anything else to that moment, or anything you got on that?
No. First, love it with the fans are back, throwing the show into a little bit of a tizzy with the chants and going. Doing stuff you don't expect. The whole thing with the "You Got Fired" was awesome. I didn't know anything about it, so I know when they were starting chanting "You Got Fired," I can't imagine what he got fired from. It would have been fun to actually watch the show and see it happen. But to see the whole show happen with arena full of people again, it made me drool a little bit because you miss it so much. You don't realize how much till you actually see it again and, hear that pop and hear those random chants that you can't see coming. You can't pipe them in through the little plasmatrons the way they've been doing for the year and a half and adding that unpredictability. So love that. The Omega segment was what it was. I still think if you close your eyes while Don Callis is talking, you can hear Ric Flair. So that throws me off a little bit. and then the Dark Order and Hangman, setting it up, doing the teases. This is where we want to go because now they're back on the road full time, and that match with Cowboy to keep building it slowly, but it's going to happen probably by the next pay-per-view, and we're going to get the match we've been waiting for, and realistically, Omega's run has been pretty unspectacular, so taking it off of him and putting it on Hangman makes sense. Obviously the fans are way behind it. The chants for him were, deafening as soon as he came out. So I could see, TK going, okay, maybe it's Hangman's time now. So, I don't think
especially like we said, if All Out is in Chicago, that crowd is going to be so hot. Now, do you wait? And I mean, and I'm all about I think you just have to pull the trigger on it. I mean, if you keep waiting, then I don't know. Like, is there going to be a hotter time than that crowd in Chicago? Because they're going to have Dynamite, then the new Friday night show, and you're going to have All Out. So you're going to have, like I said, and it's already sold out. So Full Gear would be the next event, but I don't know where Full Gear's at. So I think you got to pull the trigger on it. I think Kenny Omega will be able to do what he can do, and then we'll really be able to see it's somebody that's kind of built from the ground up in a way, because we knew what Omega could do, we knew what Moxley could do, we knew what Jericho could do. So this would be the first true, I think, test to see. It'd be like giving it to MJF or Sammy Guevara, something like that. Like, this is going to be your first true opportunity to go with somebody that you groomed for this. And like I said, we knew with Britt Baker, like, if you would have waited, there would have been a better time. So I feel like at All Out, you got to do it. I mean, yeah. So Inner Circle and Pinnacle were going at it. We had the Pinnacle win, and we had Conan kind of get taken out. Man, Tully Blanchard has been really physical lately. I feel like is he gearing up to go? Him and Conan doing a quick match maybe. I don't know, but I kind of figured. I think I thought the Inner Circle would take the win, but they didn't. FTR. I don't know. Has FTR lost all their momentum? It feels like to me they have.
In the sense that they've been booked so weird because they came in with the express purpose of getting their heads-up match with Young Bucks. And for a long time, that's all they were focused on. And everything they did was focus on that, and we didn't get it. They moved them both in different directions, put them in different heel factions, and now there's no talk of that matchup ever happening. There's no way to link those two factions so that would ever happen. And so the steam they came in with is not the steam they have now. So just in the sense that AEW's odd storytelling and just randomly putting guys together and then breaking them off and sending them into the wind in different directions is the only reason they've lost the momentum they had when they came in. I'm sure they think it's for a better cause, but they never got to finish what they started and have that match with the Young Bucks. So it makes FTR seem incomplete. Now they're in this match, this rivalry with the Inner Circle, and their main rivals are going to be Santana and Ortiz. So yeah, to answer your question, absolutely, they've lost steam and momentum, but it's not their fault. You have to blame booking.
Well, we did get the match though, because the Young Bucks took the titles off FTR, and I think that was at Full Gear. Was it a year ago? Because FTR had the tag team titles, remember? So we've gotten the match, but I feel like they rushed the match. They should have waited on that match. They should have waited on that match. And I thought that's kind of what hurt it as well. Like they knew they had money in it. They're like, well, we're just going to do it, and we'll just go at it. What about Tully Blanchard? Do you think Tully Blanchard's is he going to get involved in a match here? Because he's been pretty physical. He did the dive or the turnbuckle move with FTR. He's gotten busy with Conan.
Yeah, he's feeling a little froggy these days. So, I could definitely see a 6-man match happening somewhere with FTR and Tully against Santana Ortiz and Conan. I think that's it. They definitely cannot do a one-on-one match, and so 6-man looks to be the most reasonable idea with those guys.
And I'm good with that. Yeah,
Conan's got to get his payback. So
yes, yeah. I think we still don't know what the end game is for Inner Circle and Pinnacle, so we got to get to that eventually too. But what else happened? We speaking of unpredictable, we had a fan rush the ring when Jericho and MJF were starting to go at it, and man, it's like, yay, fans are back, and it's like, oh crap, fans
right.
are back. Like I was like, really? Because when they kept saying cut it, I was like, is that MJF saying cut it? And then you see Jericho just lay. I mean, like they said, sometimes they need to let that fan get in there and just take one shot. I mean, but so now we're going to get make sure I got all the stipulations, because there was a lot of stipulations, right? I think he's got to go through. He has to win 5 matches in a row. Kind of going against all the Inner Circle or the Pinnacle to get to MJF. So, how are we on that stipulation for Jericho getting to MJF? Does he maybe lose one and we got to throw something else out there? Or do you think he goes 5 for 5?
No, he can go for 5 for 5. It's kind of what I expected. He's going to have to, fight everybody else to get to him. It's, trying through, top heel, business. So that's definitely something I'd expect, to go through. So you got the FTR guys, Wardlow, Sean Spears, and I don't know, it's going to have to beat Tully, who's, I can't think of the other the other five.
Unless he makes Jericho wrestle all a handicap match against 4 of them.
Right.
It could be FTR, Wardlow, and Guevara against Jericho, and really just screw him, try to screw him over. So, or does he make Jericho wrestle him to get a match against him? That, that type of weird way that they could do it too. So, anything else on that? I mean, like I said, I can't believe the fan rushed the ring though. I'm like, come on, people,
yeah,
you just got
a glimpse of it's not a glimpse of Jericho hitting him. It's
it's like the Hall of Fame thing with Bret Hart and FTR were part. They got laid into they got to lay into that fan. So it's like, yeah, just let the fan go in the ring. Britt Baker cut quite a promo. She talked about blood money in Saudi Arabia, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's so weird because she keeps playing a heel, but the crowd loves her. So it's like, it's a weird persona for her. How about Andrade's debut? What do you think about Andrade's debut with Matt Sydal? That was probably a longer match than I thought. Yeah, it probably was a longer match too. Shouldn't Andrade just had run through him and move on?
That would have been a better idea. Just have him squash Sydal. He's the high flyers. Hit him in the knee, and then set up his hemlock DDT. So I still see he's kept the same finisher. But yeah, that match was way too long. When
it was a commercial break match.
Yeah,
it was even so. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, and like we said, it's Matt Sydal. I mean, Evan Bourne. I'm sorry. That's all I'm going to think of him.
Yeah.
the 450 splash. But we'll get to it though. Now we're at. I was very surprised with this. I had no idea. I posted the promo that Tommy End, aka Aleister Black, and I know you put the little this type of face, like the questioning face. Is that the correct in my assumption? And I was like, oh, okay, and it was that also had that Josiah Williams, who was big in NXT for doing themes, and he was the Black Doctor. He did a lot of behind the stage stuff. So we had who do we have? Arn Anderson talking. The lights go out, and all of a sudden you had Tommy End, aka Malachi Black, is how he's going to be known. Playing up the eye too. He has the purplish, like he still wants to play up the eye from way back in WWE days, which is really fantastic. So he lays out Arn Anderson, and then Cody Rhodes comes to save him, lays out Cody. I mean, that kick looked good too. So so here's what I got from Twitter. So I was like, there's no way that's been 90 days. Apparently his contract forgot to get changed when he went from the NXT to the main roster. So it still had the built-in 30 days, and they forgot to change it, which looks so bad on their part. So he got to debut because the contract said 30 days, no compete, and it's been 35 days. So there you go. I thought maybe they just, were like, we're just going to let him, it is what it is. We got Zelina, so we'll let him. But apparently the contract forgot to get changed. And I saw, too, that somebody had called Buddy Murphy. Is like, hey, what does your contract say? His said 90. So Buddy Murphy still has 2 more months to go and, collect a paycheck. Because I guess they were going to offer to extend Buddy Murphy's in case they had said 30 days so he could get paid 2 more months and not debut right away. So that's how that all played out. But this was a great debut. I mean, playing up this new character, I mean, just going for it. Then I'm be interested to see, hopefully they do better with him than they did with Miro. Because, I think they were like, okay, Miro, what do you want to do? And that wasn't working. And now Miro's fine. But now it looks like they're like, okay, no, we want to set up what exactly will work right away. Let's just, and, it'd be cool if they would have played that promo that he had, because that thing was, I mean, I don't want to know how much money he spent on it. I mean, that had to be all, self-funded and all that. So, what do you think of Malachi Black's debut, Greg?
Yeah, when I saw the little teaser about it, the middle patient, straight jacket, the whole business, it's like, here we go through the Psycho Ward channel again, but it still looked good. So it made me think, okay, it could work. And knowing that, he'd just been released, we talked about him just a few shows back. The last thing we expect to see was him popping up in the ring and then have him be the one when the lights came up. That was another, jaw on the floor moment. It hasn't been 3 months. And so I'm rooting for it. I love him as a wrestler. And, the guy given the opportunity, as AEW is reputed to do, let him have creative control over their own character. This is his time. This is his moment to show out like he hasn't been able to do before. And I hope let him do it. And put him in with Cody, with, the biggest babyface in the company, pretty much, is the right thing if you want to get him over as big as, we expect him to. So I'm rooting for it. And, I want to see him succeed. So love the debut. Perfect time, perfect moment. And thanks to WWE screwing up, keeps him in the news cycle and keeps him hot. And you could tell in the pop that he got when everybody saw him that it's working. So everything is turning out in his favor right now. So now you just got to have the matches to back it up.
And even as he walked up the ramp, I mean, it's like his real personality showed for a minute. Like he was smiling, like he knew, like this, you know, like it was funny because he was playing up the character. And then he got up on that ramp, and all of a sudden you just saw this smile explode. And you're like, wait, no, go back. Go
I
back
saw that too.
anyway. So
like, no, don't smile.
I mean, that's, you know, and I like that. You know, it takes me back to the NXT days where Bailey and the Four Horsemen were crying every other match, but whatever. You know, it gives you that real emotion, like, you know, he knows that he's wanted to do this. It's like, you know, it is like a weight probably been lifted off your shoulder type deals. So Chris Statlander and Orange Cassidy defeated the Blade and the Bunny. We tried to get the Brass Knucks involved. That didn't happen. Chris Statlander, though, is slowly, man, she's getting the crowd behind her. And this is organic. You know, this isn't forced. I mean, and we still don't, like, I feel like she doesn't even have it. Like, she never talks. She's just kind of there. But the crowd's getting to her. So I think, you know, this is a really good kind of step up for her. Orange Cassidy is still over. You know, I was wondering after Jericho stuff, where would he go? It feels like they're stop and go with him. But, you know, Statlander looks like it's working for her. So any thoughts on that match there?
Yeah, good match. And like you said, I agree with you totally. They're definitely behind Statlander. And I think Orange will always be one of the most over guys in the company. He can do no wrong. Plus, during that match, you heard them allude to him as the number 2 ranked challenger to the title. So, you know, there's a little nugget they're throwing us right there down the road, that he's still in line to get that title match. And we're talking, you know, another few months down the road, I'm sure. But that's another couple months in front of audiences, and getting him back over as he was before the pandemic hit, and him in a one-on-one match for the title would blow the roof off. So as odd as it would be to see him holding the championship title, I think everybody would love it. So I've always been behind the guy, and you know, I'm here for it.
Speaking of odd, we had this promo, I guess is what it was, by Dan Lambert, who I have no clue who he is, and I still am very wondering who he is. Ultimately, it came out with Lance Archer. He took him out. So 2 things. I don't know what the hell the promo was supposed to be doing. It didn't do whatever it was supposed to do. And number 2, I don't know what else he's done. You know, he was kind of teaming with them, maybe helping them. But so Greg, unpack that for me. What in the world was that? Do you know what that promo was supposed to do? I heard people say it was like the TNA one he gave 7 or 8 years ago, which is like, okay, well, what? And then 2, any thoughts on Lance Archer? Do you think he's kind of, you know, do you see any direction for him right now?
Yeah, well, to, you know, unpack the whole Dan Lambert thing, because I'm been following the mixed martial arts and UFC and Bellator and all that for the last 25 years. Dan Lambert is the head of American Top Team, and American Top Team is probably in the top 3 as far as the factories that produce the most champions in mixed martial arts. I think Bobby Lashley was part of American Top Team for a while.
Oh, okay.
You saw he had him with him, Amanda Nunes, who right now is the GOAT of women's martial arts. She's beaten all the big stars. She's beaten Ronda Rousey. She's beaten Chris Cyborg. she's beaten all the biggest names in women's MMA, and she holds 2 title belts in 2 weight divisions right now, and she is on hiatus because they can't find anybody to fight this girl. She is awesome, and she is an American top team. They also had Jorge Masvidal with him, and he became a superstar almost overnight, even though he's been in the game for 15 years, and had a great 2019, 2020, where he just went through a murderer's row of challengers and had some great bloody wars, and he catapulted himself to like the King of Miami overnight, just off of how hard he fights. And he was winning, he was knocking people out, and he claims Miami as his home, and the fight was in Miami, so he's right there in his backyard, and he's an ATT guy. And like I said, they have a trophy case full of championship belts from organizations all over the world. And so that's the reputation of American Top Team, and Dan Lambert is the one who runs it. And so they were playing up the MMA versus pro wrestling kind of angle, and Dan Lambert trying to be the old school heel manager type of role. And it would have gone over better if, after Lance Archer comes down and slams him through the mat almost, that, Masvidal, jumps in the ring and faces him up, because, the organization is pretty much based in Florida right now. It would have been an interesting way to involve everybody. Maybe give Jorge a little match with Archer, and play up the MMA versus pro wrestling, way they did with Hager and Wardlow a few weeks back. But they didn't do that. He got smashed, and Nunes and Masvidal were just looking and shaking their heads. So it was kind of a pointless segment, aside from letting Lambert get in there and tried to do an impersonation of the old school heel manager.
Yeah. So do you think it worked?
Well, it's not going to go anywhere.
That's the thing.
He got people to hate on him and boo him, and I'm sure was kind of the idea of, let me get in here and talk and get these people to hate me and pay homage to the old school. So he succeeded in that, but other than that, what was the whole purpose of that segment other than let Lance Archer come out and meme mug the camera and on to the next thing? So
whatever is next for Lance Archer.
Yeah. So it would make more sense to have him and Masvidal do a crossover thing, for a couple weeks. And, he could get some of that Masvidal rub, because Masvidal's rub is legit. He is the king of Miami. And so, that could have raised his profile a little bit, got him on SportsCenter or something like that, because people would have been talking about that. So maybe next week they'll lean into that, but I doubt it. It just seems
I feel like this is just a one-off. Yeah. I don't feel like it's going to go anywhere. That's why I'm like worried. I'm not worried, but it's like for Lance Archer's sake, it's like, what was the payoff? Because I guess he's the defender of AEW, and then
right.
But what's next
more
for him?
Babyface?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. Like, like they keep going back and forth with him. Like, I feel like if he's going to be a murder hawk, he probably should be a heel. You got Jake the Snake Roberts with you. I mean, why would you need to be face? But then again, you have, the other heels and like Miro and the Elite and, Kenny Omega. So it's like they kind of overshadow everybody. But speaking of the Elite, we'll get to their main event, which they beat Eddie Kingston and Penta. Really good match. I love the Young Bucks coming out in the jean shorts, the come as you are style type match. We had Brandon Cutler, not sure who to spray. But then we had Kazarian come in, take Cutler out. Cutler took a bad fall through that table too. Normally you take it down the middle. He took it on the end. So I was like, I hope he's okay after that. We did have Eddie Kingston get a pinfall, but there was no ref. You just had all kinds of shenanigans. I am going to wonder who is going to take those tag team titles off, because that should be a big payoff when that happens. And right now I don't know who that should be. So give me your own thoughts on the match, and we'll take one more break, our final break for Rogue Energy, and then we'll get into SmackDown and what happened there.
It was a street fight. We love good street fights, and they definitely brought it. It was a fun match to watch. We knew the titles weren't going to change hands here, even though I would have been for it. I've been a Penta guy for years, going back to Lucha. Shout out to Lucha Underground. And, he needs his time because Penta is so good. And he and Kingston made this a great match. Bucks were doing Bucks things, and it was definitely a fun match. But it was just a brawl, and the match was gonna they were gonna change titles in this match. But I liked it, and you make a good point. Who is going to take it off of them? Because surveying the landscape right now, it doesn't look like there's any legitimate tag team that's not already involved in another long-running rivalry like the Inner Circle and Pinnacle that's going to give them any trouble.
I mean, I feel like it almost needs to go back to Inner Circle. I wonder if Santana and Ortiz can somehow pick up some wins and maybe have Full Gear, which would be, more towards the end of the year. Unless they go to Double or Nothing. I mean, that's a pretty long – well, I guess you do have Revolution would be in February-ish. So maybe you could pull it out till, the beginning of next year. But, just thinking off the top of my head, I know that Inner Circle's involved with that. But, I think they need a tag team title run, Santana and Ortiz. So
yeah,
I guess that's my – that's my guess. That's my team to call out right now. Because like you said, best friends are kind of, they're off to the side. I mean, but I think it needs to be somebody bigger than best friends. I think the best friends are where they're at. They might get some, main event time here and there, but I feel like they're never going to move up or down the ladder. Right. But it feels like Ortiz and Santana, they could get the tag team titles, say they beat the Bucks, and then they can move to that next level. And they can kind of get back at the forefront of the tag team division. And you have FTR maybe going after them. So,
yeah,
that could be the way.
They would definitely deserve it. The only other thing is there anybody, free agent tag teams out there that could come in and make a splash and, upset the Bucks? I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but
yeah, I was like, even then,
those roster cuts.
I mean, the only thing I know is we like the women's side. You can bring in the Iconics, but because I feel like they are going to want to tag team together. I don't think they want to be separated again. I think they'll be a package deal. But like you said, tag team wise, I don't even know who. I mean, we got Buddy Murphy out there. I feel like he's kind of the big name that everybody wants to see what's going to happen to next. I think he's
what
the
happened
next.
With
let's see who
what happened
else.
with AOP.
Yeah,
that could be an option to bring him in.
I get
big monsters the way they did in.
And you'll need to get a manager for them.
Yeah,
I mean, because I think they need somebody.
They're doing nods to the old school. Keep them with Paul. Bring Paul back. Paul Ellering.
Yeah.
Just have him be their mouthpiece.
His daughter's an Impact, so you already got that kind of, Rachel Ellering is in Impact. So, I mean, unless, maybe Tully Blanchard, maybe he wants another tag team. I feel like he'd be a good, fit for them. So, but they definitely need a manager to kind of, get them I still kind of remember that Seth stuff. I felt like that could have went somewhere with AOP, but they never pulled the trigger on it. So, yeah. But, yeah, I guess that'd be the tag team to think of because right now it's slim pickings. The Ascension, you want them to go? You want the Ascension anywhere? No. No. Cody Rhodes has he was Stardust with them. So, obviously it's saying a lot that he hasn't brought them in yet. It's like a coach who doesn't want to pick up a quarterback from their former team.
Right.
It's always like, well, maybe that quarterback's not worth it. So, all right, get some Rogue Energy talk. Then we'll get into SmackDown debuts, family back together, and all kinds of good stuff for SmackDown. All right, we are back, ready to finish up with our SmackDown talk from last night. Roman Reigns coming out there talking to, Paul Heyman, asking the Usos to come out. I guess Jimmy is not going to get any sort of suspension for his, I think it's fourth DUI in 4 or 5 years. That, whatever. It helps to know people in the right places, I guess. But my biggest thing is, Greg, with the Roman Reigns stuff is when he hugged them, he's really got good at facial expressions. And I don't know if I'm sure you noticed it. He had the little he opened his eyes like, oh, I'm going to kill these guys soon. There was that slight subtlety to his facial expression that I was watching it with my mom and she loves to watch. I go, oh, I'm surprised he didn't turn on them last night, but it's going to come. It's coming. He's going to take them both out because I think it's best for him to be on his own with Paul Heyman. And so that's how I see it. Do you see that same thing unfolding sooner rather than later? I mean, like I said, the facial expression really told the story when he was just he kept looking at the camera like, these guys are so dead. It's like the dad being mad at your kids when we get home, that type of deal. But anyways, Roman's going to take him out sooner rather than later is my prediction.
Yeah, I agree. And I was looking for it too because the whole time that the Usos have been talking about getting the tag team championships, he's been playing it down or, trying to refocus him on something else. And now he's agreeing with it. And while he's got them both, in this big hug, and I was watching for it, I was like, okay, it's coming, wait for it. And sure enough, he gave it to us, that little smirk, that little glint in his eye. That's, you usually get that cue right before somebody gets dropped on their head. Mm-hmm. And, we got the cue, but nobody got dropped on their head. So I'm with you. I totally expect that to happen at some point. It would make more sense to keep them together as a three-piece. And I think maybe after this angle with Edge is over, that's when those two are going to get dropped. And, then you're going to have them separated. But I agree that he's better with just him and Heyman and not the three of them together. And the Usos be better served, with the belts doing their own thing.
I don't think we need any more of their drama, too. I think we've gotten to the point where it's okay, now we need to get to the payoff. We know all the different parts. And, like I said, Jimmy, he's got to get an Uber or something, man, because
right.
he blew a 0.205. That's almost a couple times the legal limit. so you can't be of any good sound mind when you're that drunk. And like I said, it feels like anybody else, you probably would have been suspended or something. But I know we wouldn't always knock like, oh, Charlotte Flair and her dad and Nia Jackson, The Rock. But I don't know, these Uso boys, they keep getting into little trouble here and there, and they keep, skating free from it. So, maybe it's time. I mean, we know who their dad is and how their lineage is. So next up, we did have what was it? King Nakamura defeating Sad Corbin. I'm just going to start calling him that. The best was McAfee, Biggie with the foot baths, foot spas, doing commentary from there and celebrating, and just poor Corbin. Nakamura coming with the Bentley that Corbin supposedly had to have repo, and they got an auction. I mean, this is all just. I don't know what the end game is for Corbin, but I'm laughing at him. We had McAfee taking digs at the hairline. I mean, really taking some digs at that hairline. And yeah.
Well, for good reason. Look at that hairline. Holy crap.
Yeah.
He's doing the Hulk Hogan, man. That's like.
Yeah, it is kind of all over the place. But Nakamura gets a win, which we all saw. And Nakamura will be in the Money to Make ladder match, which I don't know if he been in. Trying to think, I think he's been in maybe one or two, but good for Nakamura to be in there and kind of see what he could do in a ladder match. So, Greg, your own thoughts on all this Sad Corbin business?
Yeah, it's going to go somewhere. It's going to end up with him getting rebranded and differently than he is now. Look, he's all scraggly and he's. Always down on his luck. He's lost everything. He's turned into a country song, and they alluded to it. He's hit rock bottom. So now something's going to happen, and he's going to come out as something new and different. And they're just they're building a house, and they're about to put the roof on it, and he's going to come out as something different. And this is the way to get rid of the King Corbin nonsense, and give him at least he didn't lose his name yet. He's still Baron Corbin. I mean, look at Riddle lost his first name, E lost his last name, and for a while when Tegan came, they were Knox and Blackheart. I just going to call her Knox, and then they called Tegan came out a few times. So like, okay, at least she gets to keep her first name. But I expect a whole rebranding of Corbin pretty soon.
Because he still had the King gear on too. It said KC. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, he's got to get rid of that. Hopefully he doesn't go back to his waiter outfit or, host at a Fridays, but he needs to go somewhere. So, I'd say write him off TV for a couple weeks, and, like you said, repackage him as I don't know what. So, but let's just get right into it, though. You brought up Tegan Knox, Shotzi Blackheart. They debuted. It was funny because they said women we had never seen, and I kind of hate how they play that. But then McAfee's like, no, we've seen them on NXT. Like, anyways, we hate when they do that. Like, NXT doesn't exist, even though you're all in the same world. But I'm okay if there's Shotzi and Knox as the tag team name. But like you said, it was funny because they kept saying Knox, and then sometimes Tegan. And then here on the results, it says Shotzi and Tegan Knox defeated Natalya and Tamina. And I'm guessing we'll get, some sort of singles matches with them. I mean, a good debut. It's just a random pairing, but I get it because Ember Moon probably doesn't want to go up. So, and like we said, it's funny that Tegan gets called up when she still has unfinished business with Candice LeRae, which I guess Sasha Bailey did 2 times, both sides. So maybe they'll let Tegan, finish up with Candice and then be full-time main roster, if they even do that route. So what'd you think, though? Good debut for this Shotzi and Knox tag team with they brought the tank as well. I was hoping the tank would have hit Tamina, though. It just whizzed by her. I was hoping it hit kind of like Robert Stone. They took out Stone and somebody else they took out with it. So, at least they got to bring the tank.
Right. I liked it. I saw Natty and Tamina come out, and I was thinking this is a good time for a bathroom break until they said two girls you haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, now I got to wait through this commercial break and see who it is. and they came out. Tegan and Shotzi, or Knox and Shotzi, and you get away with just calling her Shotzi, but just calling her Knox, I was like, oh great, here we go. The NXT person comes up and they immediately start messing with what isn't broken. So that was what I was worried about until Michael Cole dropped the Tegan a few times, so I know she's going to get to keep her full name. It was a good match, good way to announce their arrival on the brand, then having them beat the champs, and set up a little something down the road. Just because they're not the standard match that we've been seeing from them. The same old. And hopefully we're done with the whole Dana and Mandy rivalry, to use the term loosely, that this was perfect for them in getting them over, and I'd put the championships on them because they're a breath of fresh air and new matchups, and I like it.
Especially if you can have them go back and forth to Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah.
So you could have them kind of bounce back and forth if you want to. So
and Tegan can stay in NXT and finish her rivalry with Candice too.
Yes, exactly. Oh yeah, if you want to defend it across the brands, But women's side of things. So we got the sad news. Bayley is out due to practicing. She's it's this mandatory training they asked people to come to. She was training in the ring. Looks like she wrecked her knee. Some people joke because they said approximately 9 months, so they thought they might be a little bundle of Bayley. But as far as I know, Bayley has no Bayley buddies. So I don't know if that's. I think it's just a 9 week or 9 month wrecked knee, unfortunately, because she had the big knee brace on. Sounds like she'll still be heel, even though she's going to get the hugest pop. Like some people joke, they're like, it's going to be Triple H back from injury type pop. So I hope, you might need to, you're having her play appeal, but you wonder if, or like Seth Rollins, when he came back, he started as a face and then went heel or whatever. So ultimately, this led to Sonya Deville out there. So she said Carmella will get a title match against Bianca Belair Friday night in Houston on SmackDown, and then Liv Morgan gets put into the match, which is well-deserved. So it all worked out, except we had to do it because Bayley got hurt at a mandatory training. Go figure. And Bayley's been pretty – she's had, I think, shoulder injury and then a broken wrist in NXT, but really hasn't had anything big. So, yeah, there's all the women's side of things, Greg. Have at it.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate because Bayley's been so money this whole time, the pandemic era that we'll call it. What she'd been doing with Sasha that whole time, both fighting with her and against her. This rivalry she's been having with Bianca has been great, and it went over my head from the beginning when I found out during the week that she got injured, until I thought about it. Okay, she's not going to face Bianca on Money in the Bank. Oh yeah, they had an I Quit match, so that was probably the match I was looking forward to the most. So that was the part that hit me the hardest. So shout out to Bailey. I hope she gets better ahead of schedule, because she's been amazing as a heel and a face. But I see what you're alluding to too. What would it be like if we get to 9 months down the road from now, right in the middle of WrestleMania season, and out of nowhere, old Bailey music comes out. She comes out with long brown hair and the streamers and all the, she goes back to NXT Bailey, the hugger. It'd be a huge word, but everybody would lose their minds for it. So I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility, during
Well, I think
the
she could
countdown
go.
to.
I was even going to say she could keep this persona as a face in a way and just play up to the fan side somehow. But it was funny last night.
Mhm.
She's like, I did this for you. You guys were the fault of it. So it'll be interesting to see. And I'm thinking if it's through WrestleMania, you don't rush her for WrestleMania. You just save her for after, that pop after. So,
Yeah.
I think, it could, and it might give her a refresh, maybe look at how you want to take the character now. You got 9 months. So it's like, it sucks. And now I wonder if Bianca Belair is going to be hurt because of it, because what contenders do we have? I wonder if Friday night will end in shenanigans and we'll just get the rematch between Carmella and Bianca at Money in the Bank, because we probably need to fill in a match anyway. So it almost makes you wonder if Friday night will end in shenanigans but then again, why would you just not do the match? So anyways, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I like it. And Carmella was what if it even announced who it was going to be. I saw Carmella coming a mile away, and she's the great narcissistic foil for Bianca, and it'll be a good match, but there's no danger Bianca's going to lose, unless Carmella does something to steal a win. Gets up to shenanigans or something, and then to justify it, they have a match in Money in the Bank, which is definitely a possibility if there's nobody else that they can think of pulling out of the ether. To that end, also, I saw something online, so don't know the validity of it 100%, that WWE is putting a said to Sasha Banks, it's time to go back to work. So we can see Sasha popping up sooner than later also. Maybe they put her into Money in the Bank, or pop her up as a challenger for Bianca, because she hasn't had a rematch yet. Yeah. So that's an easy peasy, done kind of situation. And now back in front of crowds, that match would go over huge.
And I feel like Sasha's going to be that last person announced for Money in the Bank, just to get her in there and then revisit for SummerSlam. Because right now it's like, what do you do for Bianca at SummerSlam? It's like you don't have, it's probably got to be Sasha. So next up, what else we had? We had Seth Rollins defeated Cesaro in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. Cesaro got busted open there. I thought Cesaro might pull it out just because I felt like, I thought they were going with Cesaro. Now it feels like they're not. Feels like we're pulling the rails back on him. And but I hope that they see what he could do. And at any point you can get him back in that position. But Seth picks up the win. Were you okay with Seth picking up the win, Greg?
Yeah, I would expect to see him in there anyway. So they've been trading wins back and forth. So either one of them would have won, and it wouldn't have surprised me at all. Seth just makes more sense to me at this point, just because of the possibilities with Roman's champion and their whole backstory, and how easy that would be to build that up. And plus, those two would have a great match.
And then finally, we had Edge calling out, everybody of the bloodline. You had Roman out there. You had the Usos. And then we had, our SmackDown Tag Team Champions come back, the Mysterio family. So we're going to get a 6-man match this coming Friday. Usos and Roman against Edge and the Mysterios. Kind of let that play out. We had the bar to the mouth of Jey Uso or Jimmy. No, it's Jay because Jimmy's already got it. So we had Jay get it now. So now all three of the Roman family have had to taste that bar. Jay was doing good with his eyes rolling back in the head. Good stuff. Good ending. And now, like we said, kind of built into, getting the Mysterio family back. Dominic and Ray, defending tag team titles. I thought a good segment to end the night. How about yourself?
Yeah, it sets up so many different matches. And, this was the final bridge back into the live crowd. So now we're going to get, all those payoffs with Edge and Roman next weekend and the Mysterios and the Usos, I'm sure coming sooner than later. And I think this is where we're going to see the Usos take the titles. And it just pushes all the storylines further. I think it's wrapping up the angles with Roman and the Usos as far as being so divided. It shows them as a cohesive unit, at least for now. Mm-hmm. And so kind of putting a bow on that. And, they can always take the bow off when Roman decides to turn on them. But at least it puts it to an end for now and shows them as a unit. For just the storyline with Roman and Edge, and then the Usos on their tag team run. So it was the perfect segment to lay the foundation for getting back to live audiences next week, and really kicking up a notch or 10. Now that they have the expectations of being back in front of live audiences. So I'm surprised that Vince McMahon let AEW get the jump on them with the going back to full houses, going first. So maybe they did it first, when they do it better and sell out bigger venues. So I'm excited for it and ready to see what's going to happen.
And we could throw the Usos and the Mysterios on Money in the Bank. I normally don't like announcing last minute stuff, but I feel like next week you could probably announce that and get away with it. And then, like you said, I think the Usos need to win and at least have Roman aligned with them for a little bit. But then, he just takes them out. And they'll still have the tag team titles, so they still have what they needed. It's like they got what they wanted out of it anyway. So, that's all I got on that week in wrestling. Gave you another good 2 hours of talk. Greg, any final thoughts you want to throw out there? I know you've got your Suns going tomorrow night. Anything else you want to throw out there?
Yep, I give it Suns 2 more games by midweek next week. They'll be hoisting at Larry O. And they already had DeAndre Ayton talking about taking it back to his homeland in the Bahamas, I believe, where he's from. Okay. And parading it out there. Huge UFC fight tonight with Conor McGregor and Poirier in their trilogy fight. No, you're not much of an MMA guy, but it's going to be like.
I didn't realize Conor McGregor was going back out. I knew he was coming back. I just didn't know it was happening tonight. So that's pretty big.
That's tonight. It's going to be a huge fight, and looks like we're getting old Conor back now, the one who's talking smack and getting inside his opponent's head, and that was the hungry lion that used to smash people, and as opposed to shiny happy Conor, who had all smiles and hugs in their first fight in January, and he got smashed. So looks like we got old Conor back. It's going to be a huge fight. Great card tonight. If you're a UFC fan, it's definitely something you're going to need to check out. And then next, you said July 30th, we got your next announcing
MPG Wrestling. Yep.
MPG. Yes, sir.
Jared Kripke's golden birthday bash. So his 30th on the 30th. So yeah, he is a new member of the Golden Cult, which is the main faction in this MPG Wrestling. Bunch of heels. They got all the gold. There's thousands of titles in MPG Wrestling. So yeah, good night. Hopefully some guys that couldn't make it last weekend will make it this time. Is what they had to have a few card changes because of car issues and whatnot. So they're hoping to get some guys back. And yeah, so I'll just keep showing my beautiful voice in this money maker, as they call
there
it,
you go.
on MPG Wrestling, and keep all the wheels turning for all the network, as we say, on sports, BW Sports 1. So thank you for joining us. Catch all the good BW Sports stuff. Like I said, we got to get Dan to give me like a little schedule so I can put up here behind me. I need to keep doing that, or we could screen share it. So maybe I'll work on that with him, and we could do a Google Doc so we could share it out every week. So good stuff happening. I think tomorrow we got checkers and wreckers for all your racing needs. And I believe the state of basketball is back tomorrow, talking up the NBA Finals. So I know that's happening some point tomorrow. So BW Sports 1, check it out. Thank you, Greg, for coming on. As always, thank you for watching, and enjoy the week of wrestling and enjoy UFC tonight.
Thank you. Y'all guys have a great time.